Shooting an Elephant is an essay by George Orwell. George Orwell was an English novelist, essayist, journalist, and critic. His real name was Eric Arthur Blair, and he wrote many works under the pen name of George Orwell. His famous novels 1984 and another is Animal Farm. In this video, we will discuss his essay, Shooting an Elephant. I was hated by large numbers of people. I refers to the narrator. The narrator, George Orwell, who is sharing an experience of his life. The only time in my life that I have been important enough for this to happen to me. He's saying that he received immense hatred from the natives of Burma, and this time he was the only responsible person. I was subdivisional police officer of the town. He served as a subdivisional police officer in Molmen, and in an aimless, petty kind of way, anti-European feeling was very bitter. He talked about his designation. At that point of time, British people ruled Myanmar. So the following story talks about how a ruling party or how an oppressor is being oppressed in a country. The European feeling was very bitter. Anti-European feeling is also known as anti-European sentiment or anti-Europeanism or Europhobia. Those terms implies the sentiment in opposition to Europe or Europeans. The narrator, as is served in Burma as a police officer, he had to go through these kinds of feelings. No one had the guts to raise a riot. All over the country, no Burmese people had the courage to raise a riot. But if a European woman went through the bazaars alone, somebody would probably spit Betelgeuse over her dress. So if ever an European woman could be found all alone visiting the bazaar, then the natives of Burma, the local people of Burma, would take the initiative to insult her by spitting Betelgeuse over her dress. As a police officer, I was an obvious target. He was the police officer, he was the oppressor there. So he is very clearly acknowledging that she had become a target in the eyes of the natives of Burma and was baited whenever it seemed safe to do so. And he was insulted, he was teased by the natives whenever they find a safe chance to insult him. When a nimble Burman tripped me up on the football field, and the referee, another Burman, looked the other way. Nimble means quick or fast. A Burman trapped him on the football ground, and the referee looked the other way. The referee overlooked the matter. Then the crowd yelled with hideous laughter. The vast crowd tried their ugly laugh, which was very annoying. This happened more than once. This happened several times with him. In the end, the sneering yellow faces, sneering means mocking faces. Yellow faces there means their complexion, their skin tone. The sneering yellow faces of young men that met me everywhere. The people who used to mock Orwell would come across his paths in every places. The insults hooted after me when I was at a safe distance. Whenever someone insults us, it is quite difficult to forget it or to get rid of it. So it keeps in our mind. The same thing that happened with Orwell. So the insults were still in his mind. When I was at a safe distance, got badly on my nerves. Get on my nerves is a phrase in English which refers irritating someone badly. So whenever he reminds those insults, he felt irritated. The young Buddhist priests were the worst of all. So among all the people who have insulted him, here is another list of priests. There were several thousands of them. There were thousands of in numbers, and none of them seemed to have anything to do except stand on the street corners and jeer at Europeans. The only thing the narrator found these priests doing were they would stand at the corner of the street to taunt the Europeans or to make rude comments on them. All this was perplexing, all this was very puzzling and upsetting. For at that time I had already made up my mind that imperialism was an evil thing. For the first time in the essay, the narrator is saying that imperialism was an evil thing. And he's saying, due to his first hand experience of it. Imperialism is the political system where the rich and powerful country controls the less rich and powerful one. And the sooner I chucked up my job, the sooner I quit my job and got out of it, the better. So he was thinking continuously how to left his job. Theoretically and secretly, of course, I was all for the Burmese and all against their oppressors, the British. The narrator, though he was serving the oppressors, though he was there for the British people, but he is giving his honest opinion that he was secretly standing there for the Burmese people, not for the British ones. As for the job I was doing, I hated it more bitterly than I can perhaps make clear. He had immense hatred in his mind against his job, but still he is quite afraid that he would make anyone understand how much he hated his job. In a job like that, you see the dirty work of empire at close quarters. So the job he was doing, he was the sub-divisional police officer in Malmen. He was there, and when he experienced or when he watched the dirty deeds of the British Empire. The wretched prisoners, the unhappy or unfortunate prisoners, they were huddling, they were coming close to each other because they were frightened. In the stinking cages, bad smelling was coming out of the cages of the lockups. The grey cowed faces of the long-term convicts, the accused, the blamed people, they were all kept in the lockups. They had cowed faces, they had frightened faces, they have become pale. The scarred buttocks of the men who had been bogged with bamboos, the men were heavily bitten with bamboos at their backside. All this oppressed me with an intolerable sense of guilt. All these things the narrator has described has filled his heart with grief. He was feeling very heavy in his heart due to a sense of guilt because I could get nothing into perspective, because he was not understanding these things. He was lacking clarity. I was young and ill educated, and I had had to think out my problems in the utter silence that is imposed on every Englishman in the East. He was trying to sit in silence to solve the problems, to understand his situation. I did not even know that the British Empire is dying. He had hardly any idea about the British Raj. Still less did I know that it is a great deal better than the younger empires that are going to supplant it. That maybe some young empire, some young men would come to serve the British Empire. All I knew was that I was stuck between my hatred of the empire I served and my rage against the evil-spirited little beasts who tried to make my job impossible. His mind was constantly oscillating between two things. First of all, he was serving the empire against whom he had immense hatred in his heart. And the second thing is the little evil-spirited beasts, means the Burmese, the natives of Burma. They were trying very hard to disturb Orwell or to make his job impossible. So, in other words, we could say that he was in the dilemma. He was unable to choose or know the reasons behind his hatred or his love for this Burmese people. With one part of my mind, I thought of the British Raj as an unbreakable tyranny. The narrator was thinking about the British Raj, the British dominance, the British ruling period, and he thought that it was a kind of tyranny, a kind of cruel act that could not be broken, as something clamped down which is unstoppable, against which it is very difficult to take a strict action. In secularum, this is a Latin phrase which means in an ages of ages, means it will last forever. So the way British era was a nightmare to the natives of Burma. The narrator had this thought in his mind. Upon the will of prostrate peoples, Prostrate means lying flat on the ground, facing downwards. So the people have already submitted themselves mentally, and they were being ruled by British. With another part, I thought that the greatest joy in the world would be to drive a bayonet into a Buddhist priest's guts. So another thought at that same moment came into his mind, and he felt very happy. He felt that if he could drive a bayonet is a kind of knife which is fixed to the end of a gun. And as he was very disturbed by the behavior of the Buddhist priests at that point of time, so he was saying those things. Feelings like this are the normal byproducts of imperialism. So the way he was thinking, the way he was being tormented mentally by both the oppressor and the oppressive ones, he was very exhausted. And he's saying that these are the normal byproducts. These are something which is happening as a result of the British era or the British Raj. Ask any Anglo-Indian official if you can catch him off duty. So he's giving a very clear direction that anyone could ask any off-duty Anglo-Indian officer who would definitely give the person a different perspective of imperialism. One day something happened which in a roundabout way was enlightening. Now he is talking about an incident which happened one day. It was a tiny incident in itself. It was a very small incident, a tiny incident, a petty incident, but it gave me a better glimpse than I had had before of the real nature of imperialism. This tiny incident taught the narrator something very deep. The real motives for which despotic governments act. One day, one will understand about the unspoken rules of government. Early one morning, the sub-inspector at the police station, the other end of the town, rang me up on the phone and said that an elephant was ravaging the bazaar. One morning, he got a call over the phone from another officer in the town, and he had been said that it was an elephant who was causing severe damage in the bazaar. Would I please come and do something about it? Orwell was called to look after the matter, look into the matter, and do something necessary. I did not know what I could do. The narrator had no idea what he was going to do. But I wanted to see what was happening, and I got onto a pony and started out. So he started his journey towards that place. I took my rifle, an old .44 Winchester, and much too small to kill an elephant. But I thought the noise might be useful in terror. Terror is a Latin phrase which means in fear. So he took the rifle in case he needed to make it terrified. Various Burmans stopped me on the way. He got stopped by the natives of Burma and told me about the elephant's doings. And he got the information about what exactly the elephant was doing in the bazaar. It was not, of course, a wild elephant, but a tame one which had gone must. So it was not a wild one, but a tame elephant. Till, for some reason, it had gone wild. It was behaving differently. It had been chained up, as tame elephants always are when their tuck of must is due. But on the previous night it had broken its chain and escaped. So it was completely a normal elephant, a tame elephant, but something might have happened that it broke the chain and escaped. And then the elephant was in the bazaar, he was ravaging, he was causing disturbance, many more things which we will know. It's Mahat, the only person who could manage it when it was in that state. Had set out in pursuit, but had taken the wrong direction and was now 12 hours' journey away. And in the morning the elephant had suddenly reappeared in the town. So the one person who had the full authority to control the elephant had gone away. He had almost completed 12 hours' journey on the wrong direction, in the wrong direction. Now it would definitely take time for him to come back and control the situation. The Burmese population had no weapons and were quite helpless against it. The Burmese people, the natives in Burma, they had no other object which they will use to protect themselves. It seemed that they were helpless. It had already destroyed somebody's bamboo hut. Bamboo hut had been destroyed, killed a cow, and raided some fruit stalls and devoured the stock. Stock means farm animals. Also, it had met the municipal rubbish van, and when the driver jumped out and took to his heels, had turned the van over and inflicted violences upon it. So the elephant had already caused several attacks. It had killed a cow, it had raided a few fruit stalls in the bazaar, it had devoured the farm animals, and also it had turned over the rubbish van. The Burmese sub-inspector and some Indian constables were waiting for me in the quarter where the elephant had been seen. Burmese sub-inspector and few Indian constables, they were waiting for the narrator to come. It was a very poor quarter, a labyrinth of squalid bamboo huts, patched with palm leaf, winding all over a steep hillside. So the quarter was a very poor one, and there were complicated sets of path and passage. I remember that it was a cloudy, stuffy morning at the beginning of the rains. The narrator had a very strong memory and he could remember exactly that it was a cloudy morning. We began questioning the people as to where the elephant had gone and, as usual, failed to get any definite information. We means the Burmese sub-inspector, the few Indian constables, and the narrator himself. They were asking the local people whether they had seen the elephant or what could be the exact direction in which it had gone. But they did not get any clear information. That is invariably the case in the East. So he's saying that in East it happens. A story always sounds clear enough at a distance, but the nearer you get to the scene of events, the vaguer it becomes. He's saying that at a distance the story is something different, and the moment you decide to come closer to it, the moment you try to get to know more about it, it is something different. Some of the people said that the elephant had gone in one direction, some said that he had gone in another, some professed not even to have heard of any elephant. So he got three kinds of answers. Few said that it had gone in one direction, few said the other direction it had gone, and some of the local people said that they did not even know anything about any elephant. I had almost made up my mind that the whole story was a pack of lies. After hearing these kinds of answers, he was puzzled. And he decided that everything he had heard till then were nothing but lies. When we heard yells a little distance away, at that moment he heard someone was yelling, shouting. There was a loud, scandalized cry of, "Go away, child, go away this instant." And an old woman with a switch in her hand came round the corner of a hut, violently shooing away a crowd of naked children. Few small children were there who were naked, and they was making a crowd. And this woman, who was shocked, she was making a loud sound of saying, "Go away." Some more women followed, clicking their tongues and exclaiming. So few women also joined her, and their expressions were saying something different. Evidently, there was something that the children ought not to have seen. By looking at their faces, the narrator and the inspector and the constables, they all knew it very clearly that something had happened at that place, which the children should not see. I rounded the hut and saw a man's dead body, sprawling in the mud. When he was inspecting, he moved round the hut. He found a dead body, which was spreading over a large area in an untidy way in the mud. He was an Indian, black Dravidian coolie, almost naked, and he could not have been dead many minutes. The dead person was an Indian, especially he had mentioned that he was a black Dravidian coolie and who had not died long ago. The people said that the elephant had come suddenly upon him round the corner of the hut, caught him with its trunk, put its foot on his back, and ground him into the earth. Few people have witnessed the painful incident, and they talked about it. They said that the elephant came suddenly from the corner, round the corner of the hut, and then with its trunk, it caught that person, then put its foot on the back of this person and grounded him. This was the rainy season and the ground was soft, and his face had scored a trench a foot deep and a couple of yards long. He had already mentioned that it was the rainy season, it was a soft ground, and the man had gone through immense pressure or immense pain. He was lying on his belly with arms crucified. He was on his belly, and his arms were stretched out, and head sharply twisted to one side. His head got twisted. His face was coated with mud because of that immense pressure, the eyes wide open, the teeth bared and grinning with an expression of unendurable agony. He was feeling that pain. It was not a happy death. He had to endure that pain. So his teeth were grinning, and here the writer had kept a line inside this bracket. Never tell me, by the way, that the dead look peaceful. Most of the corpses I have seen look devilish. So this is the personal opinion he's also sharing in this story, that his experience of seeing the corpses have been something different. Those all the corpses do not have a peaceful sleep. Few look devilish because of the way they have been killed. The friction of the great beast's foot had stripped the skin from his back as neatly as one skins a rabbit. The way someone takes off the skin of a rabbit, the same way because of the foot of the elephant. The elephant's foot had stripped off the skin from its back. As soon as I saw the dead man, I sent an orderly to a friend's house nearby to borrow an elephant rifle, saying this incident that a man had been killed because of that elephant. He was not exactly wild, but due to some reason he was behaving differently. So he sent a man to borrow a rifle, an elephant rifle. I had already sent back the pony, not wanting it to go mad with fright and throw me if it smelled the elephant. If the pony would have seen the elephant, it might be terrified. He did not want that. So he have sent the pony back its way. The rest of the essay will be discussed in another video. Thank you.